Hi, everyone. This is Lynn Bailey. This is my final project at The Ohio State University UX UI Design Boot Camp. My project today is titled The Reader Experience, and my role in the project is as a UX designer and researcher. Ask any avid reader why they love to read, and you will often get similar responses. They love to get away to different worlds and escape reality. They love to cozy up to a good book. They love to walk into a library or a bookstore and have the world at their fingertips. They love the smell of a fresh new book. The reading experience has existed long before the dawn of printed text. The reading brain is not natural. It's an evolved state of the human mind. Humans taught ourselves to communicate, often through storytelling, before printed text even existed. Eventually, they wanted to save their stories and have better communication. So writing began. We had to teach ourselves to decode the print. And in the beginning, we did this alongside families and in rudimentary schoolhouses. It was a tactile, mostly positive, and enjoyable experience, surrounded in tight knit corners with people and connections. Now it seems reading has grown a little bit cold, quite digital, not always conducted alongside a partner child relationship. Lack of reading ability and the rise of digitization can all stand in the way of a true reading experience. As a former educator, I have seen firsthand the lack of access to real print novels to those that struggle to read, both during school and as adults. The inability to decode text beyond a sixth grade reading level is prevalent in our country. Think on it. No libraries, no bookstores, no basic reading of resumes or multi-step directions. Because beyond sixth grade text is where the dense reading begins and the real inferences and comprehension begin. The reading required to live life as an intelligent citizen. What if you can't decode at this level? Depending on where you look for stats and what level of literacy you are considering, percentages will differ slightly. But the International Assessment of Adult Competencies rates adult literacy on the scale of 1 to 500. Level 2, which is about 272 points, is considered the American average. This is the equivalent of just a sixth grade level reading ability. According to the International Assessment of Adult Competencies, 54% of the American population is at a level 2 or below. So that's sixth grade level or below, 54% of the American population. Due to lack of literacy skills, they are unable to comprehend and inference dense texts. That's essentially what that means. A large percentage of the population lack access to higher level reading. Novels that are beyond sixth grade. So basically when the novels get pretty cool. Think of how many dense novels you have read that are just simply amazing, that unfortunately these people cannot always access. Not only does this lack of access due to lower reading ability have a negative cognitive impact on the learning brain, but it also denies many future possibilities for an individual. An unfortunate casualty of lacking literacy skills could be future employment, disruptive behavior at school, feelings of being disenfranchised, and well beyond. It's not just reading cool books. Think of how often you read dense, difficult text in daily life. Read a resume, read multi-step directions, read rental contracts, read instructions for furniture. Those IKEA directions, they're not all that easy. Read recipes, read and discern news articles. So, what if there were QR codes with embedded audio files on each page to give instant read aloud access to users? You could pretty much put them on anything. What if a child is turned off to reading beyond third or fourth grade because it's just getting too hard for them? It's a real dividing line for students in the schools in America. So what if there was a way to build audiobooks into the actual books themselves? A hybrid audiobook that replicates the authentic reader experience, allows reading a novel while also keeping the chunks of text small, so the reader can better track text and simultaneously improve phonetic skills. all while being completed in a natural human voice rather than a digital one. Could this give a better chance at continued growth in reading skills rather than it run stagnant in adolescence? Could more enjoyment through the reading experience improve future life skills? And if you take a look at this slide, this is a step-by-step of what would happen in my app if it were to really exist. And later on in the presentation, I will show you a little bit more of a picture of what happens. It allows lower-level readers to access a library of audiophile QR codes. The audiophile QR codes can be printed on sticker paper. They can easily attach the QR stickers to each individual page of any book. It then gives a struggling reader a more authentic reading experience, but they still get to experience choosing and experiencing the book in a tactical way, all while simultaneously having that particular book read aloud. Sure, there are audiobook competitors, old school traditional audiobooks, ebooks with read aloud features built into the operating system, Chrome extensions that read the text in any website, apps that can scan a book and have it read and track the text for you. But those voices are often mechanical, and you don't need to actually hear or hold the book to hear the digital version. In fact, one of the best competitors of this app charges fees based on whether or not the voice utilized is natural. If one of my app competitors utilizes the availability of a human reader versus a mechanical voice as a sole basis of their profit structure, it stands to reason it's fairly important to a reading experience. And those alternate digital options either take the book away from the reader or have an overwhelming amount of audio. It's one big file rather than many small files that match pages. Who cares? Ask a struggling reader if they can find their place after they have lost it when listening to one large and long file. It's a little bit tricky for them. So while you can enjoy a good book using all the competitor options, are you optimizing your literacy potential and continuing to grow as a reader as much as you could? Not likely. Successful readers do more while learning to read. It is a full-body environmental experience, whether we realize it or not. Their brain needs to connect and match voice to print, and thus is only done if the reader can continually and dependably track alongside the audio while an element of physicality, such as holding and turning the book pages, is involved. I first created this very solution for a former student of mine. Drew Martinez, that's a fake name to protect my student, of course, being professional here. Drew Martinez was the kind of student that tried to run away in kindergarten. One of 11 children in the home, spoke Spanish natively, came to my classroom, a third grader, barely able to read past a kindergarten level. Daily in our school, we had read to self time, and the book choices were leveled. So for Drew, that meant he was left reading baby books while the other students were reading fun novels like A Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So naturally, Drew misbehaved every single day. The data was fairly simple to track. I asked the teacher to switch his books and just give him a real book so his peers would see him in a different light, not as the stupid kid as he felt that they did. And hopefully this would deter his behaviors. The teacher was adamant. If he couldn't decode the text, he couldn't have it read during the read to self time. I had previously tried Chrome extensions, audiobook apps, and other digital reading solutions, but there is just something about this read to self time. It was a time for the kids to cozy up to a good book, a real book, and for kids like Drew, a social hierarchy ruled by reading abilities. And all people, regardless of ability, should be allowed access to the reading experience. Due to presentation time restraints, I won't be able to walk through all of my UX process, but I will be providing a Figma link if you would like to see that. But it involves some of the following. Research and user testing has been conducted throughout the past few years. The original idea was first published in Sherry Williamson's children's books in 2018, and she continues to do so as recent as 2022. We have received overall positive feedback for the product, and we have had many people volunteer to help and many people beg for more QR codes and more books. Sherry's first book had stickers applied to each page, as this is how I set it up in my classroom originally. But as she published future books, she recorded audio and had the QR codes embedded and published directly into the book. So it's a little bit different than what this app would do, because the app would then print the stickers and have the person adhere them themselves rather than be printed into the page. In order to create a user flow, I had to consider both the user end and the creator of the codes. This sketch details a bit of the original process I used to create the QR codes for my students. As one can imagine, it is painfully slow, and I could not make enough codes to keep up with student demand. Apparently my dog agrees. As one can imagine, the process, It is my hope that this app can automate the process of the QR creation while making them easily accessible to all parents and teachers that may need them. They can go to the app, search the book they want to read, print the QRs, and then sticker away. In such a short project timeline, I was unable to complete all work and prototyping and complete the additional user feedback. So that is going to be part of my next steps. However, I did spend ample time in class with my peers talking through my prototype and talking about design feedback. Some of the feedback is noted here, and some of my here are a few of the changes I made in accordance to that particular peer feedback. A lot of it was design and functionality, but I did make a few changes. This is actually iteration number 3. And I have made a video, since I'm not in class live with you guys, for my prototype. So you're just going to pretend that you're a user walking through the steps of the app. This particular part was a splash screen. Someone is able to go onto the app, and they can, if they need further directions on how it works, that's what you're viewing here. This would be a video embedded right into the onboarding screen. They don't have to go through this process. That was one of the feedbacks that I received from my peers. They can if they so choose. Right now it's printing the QR stickers. That's after they found them in the book search library. And now I'm taking the QR stickers that I just printed and I am putting them onto the book. I previously recorded those pages, so each of those individual QR codes will correspond directly to a page of that particular book. So the student can then, or person, it doesn't matter if they're a student or not, can then scan each page, sit back and listen to the page, put the phone down while they do so, which is pretty integral to the reading experience. That's the audio file loading there. And as you can see, my son is scanning the book with any QR reader. It doesn't need to be any particular type, any QR reader that you happen to have. And then he's able to sit back now and enjoy that book because the audio file is playing while he's actually reading that particular book. This is something I'd like to fix in future iterations. I don't like that when you come back, it reloads the splash screen. So now we're going to start. And this would be theoretically, some search options that pull up if the user were to search that particular book called Unplugged. And then say they want to pick this book. This right here are the QR code sticker sheets. So this particular book would have 6 total sheets. And then you could print the QR codes right from the app. And you already saw a little bit of what that looks like then when they print. If they don't feel like printing them at home, I would like to build in an order option where we could just send them to them. That way, if they don't have the sticker sheets or they don't have a printer or they don't want a bulk print, that is an option that we could do for sure. And that question mark there, that will then pull you back to that video, that start video that we saw on the onboarding screen. So in case they've forgotten or they skipped that step at first, they're able to still go back in and find that particular screen so they know a little bit more about the directions. So I have a lot of next steps here. I've talked about a few of them. I definitely would like to change that splash screen and a few looks on my icons. I think a few things are a little bit too clunky. So it's a work in progress for sure. I definitely would like to take this to user testing. And in fact, I'm going to do some of that while I'm out at ETH Denver. So I'd like to see what some of my peers think about this particular prototype. And then I'm going to make adjustments, polish designs, complete functionality. Hopefully someday I can actually code up the back end and who knows, maybe put it on Kickstarter or see if I can get it actually up and running. So thank you for listening. I appreciate your time.